Iol PowerPoint presentation for 2020. The subject BSPE PHE22. Presenter Mrs. A.C. Stein. Good morning, I'm Mrs. Ansie Stein, your tutor for PHE22 for this year. Welcome to the presentation for this subject. I hope you enjoy your studies and that you will be successful this year. Success comes with dedicated, consistent work. My contact details are 081 277 5321. That's the cell phone number, and ansiestein@hotmail.com. That's my email address. You're welcome to contact me from Mondays till Saturdays from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. You can either phone me or SMS or email me. In the latter case, I can send you a detailed answer. Please feel free to ask if anything is unclear or if you have problems regarding your subject. I'm willing to assist as far as I can. I'm going to discuss the most important facts of each unit separately. You will then be able to follow the content discussed if you page through your study guide while I'm discussing the content. Please note that this presentation is not a discussion of any exam paper, but of the most important content for the whole year. As an introduction to the study guide, I'm shortly going to explain some information regarding the guide itself. When we turn to the front of the study guide, you will find a detailed table of contents. Here you will find the headings of the complete content, and you will be able to have an overview of your subject for the year. Take time to read through it, to familiarize yourself with the content you are going to study. On page 7, you will find very important information regarding the time you are required to spend with the subject in order to be a successful student. Because this is distant teaching, it's very important that you spend adequate time right throughout the year with your study material. To just start studying before the exams will not be wise, and it will be hard to write the exams successfully. I recommend that you spend time every day with your studies. Even half an hour every day will be worthwhile. Consistency is the key to being a successful student. Now, when you turn the page, you will find action verbs. These words form the key of the assignment and also the exam paper. For example, when you are requested to analyze facts, you will have to present facts in detail. And when you have to outline, you only have to give an overview and present the main features. Make sure to know what is expected of you when these verbs are present in your assignment and the exam paper. Also read through 9 and 10. When you turn to Unit 1, you will firstly find the table of content of this unit and then the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes are an indication of what content you will find in the specific unit. Learning activities, that's LA in short, follow the learning outcomes. In these learning activities, you will find specific questions regarding the content of the specific unit. It will be wise to firstly try to answer these questions on your own and thereafter look at the answers which are at the end of each unit. When studying for the exams, use these questions to study because they form the core of the content and are very important. And do not forget to also study the assignment you completed because some of the questions will be asked in the exams. So let us start with each unit separately now. Follow in your guide as I discuss the content. Unit 1. First of all, you need to understand what physiology is. Physiology is a division of biology, and to be more specific, it is the science how living organisms function, whereas anatomy is about the structure of the body, what the body parts look like, their shape and where the parts of the body and organs are located. This is set out in detail in 1.1. In 1.2, all the different systems of the body are named and their functions are described. Do you know all the different systems the body consists of? I'm only going to name a few. The nervous system, the respiratory system through which we breathe, the skin system, and also the immune system. These are only a few. Study to know all of them, but also what each one consists of and each one's function in the body. The heart, for example, is part of the circulatory system. And the heart's function, for instance, is to control the circulation of the blood, which signals the carrying of oxygen, fuel, nutrients, waste products, and immune cells to various parts of the body. All these facts are set out in 1.2. 1.4 defines certain fitness terminology. For now, you will only need to know the definitions of flexibility, as set out in 1.4.1, strength in 1.4.2, speed 1.4.4, and agility 1.4.5. Make sure to know these 4 definitions by heart. Currently, young people experience certain health problems like HIV, malnutrition, not necessarily not enough food, but not a balanced, well-nourished diet. Mental health problems like depression and anxiety, etc. In fact, 20% of all adolescents will at any given time experience a mental health problem. Study to know all problems experienced as found in 1.6. Physical education does not only influence the body but also the mind. To see how PE has an influence on emotional, that's mind stability, study these facts as set out in 1.9. 1.11 describes why jogging and walking are important. Firstly, jogging and walking are free. You need not pay for these exercises. You do not need special clothes to partake. Jogging is more intense, so you burn more calories than when walking, and it also strengthens the heart. Study 1.11 to find all the benefits of jogging and walking. These are the most important content to study in Unit 2. So let's page to Unit 1. So let's page to Unit 2 now, where the aspects of movement theory and games for different phases of learners are discussed. So the previous content was of Unit 1. We're going to look at Unit 2's content now. The most important content in this unit are the 3 categories of fundamental movement as seen in 2.1. There are 3 categories that movement skills can be divided into, namely locomotion, manipulation, and stability. Let us look at locomotion. Locomotor movements are those movements where the body is transported in a horizontal or vertical direction from one point in space to another. In other words, when you run, you transport your body vertically, that's upright, from the starting point to the end line. Other examples of locomotion are jumping and skipping. Manipulation are gross motor manipulative movements using the large muscles like the arm muscles, which involve giving force to to objects or receiving force from objects. Like when you hit a tennis ball, you give force to an object, which is the ball. And when you catch a baseball, you receive force from an object, namely the ball. Read about stability also in 2.1. These categories are very important to know in detail. Now, the next important content can be found in 2.3. When a baby is born, he or she cannot survive on their own and needs to develop certain skills. Each age group is associated with certain skills, so let us page to 2.3 to find out what they are. That's the phases of motor development. So the first phase is called the reflexive behavior phase, lasting from the uterus of the mother until about 1 year, where the movements of the body are involuntary, done without thinking what to do and how, upon reflex, in other words, like when sucking, which is a survival reflex movement. Phase 2 is called the rudimentary movement ability phase, and that's from 0 to 2 years, where the infant makes their first voluntary movements, like bringing the hand to the mouth and reaching for objects, which lay the foundation for more complex movements. These movement abilities depend on the development and maturity of the infant. From 2 to 7 years, the fundamental movement patterns are developed. Those movement patterns develop from the previous phase, and they now experiment with their bodies and with what they are potentially able to do, like learning to walk, to run, or to throw. They can also move in different ways now. Thereafter, the general movement skills are developed from 8 to 10 years. They are now in primary school and they try to be accurate in their movement skills, like when playing a certain sport. Phase 5 involves specific movement skills, and that occurs from 11 till 13 years of age, where further extension of their general movement skills take place. More complex sport skills are now required from children, so their skills are refined in this phase. An example would be that a child now can throw a netball goal and kick a ball into a soccer net more accurately. The last motor development phase is called the specialized skill development phase. It starts from about 14 years of age and lasts until adulthood. It is now the development of isolated or specific skills and for higher levels of performance, like concentrating on one sport, for example tennis, to become a star. But care should be taken not to start too early in developing these specific skills. You now have an overview of the different phases of motor development, but read and study them thoroughly as set out in 2.3. 2.13 is about methodology issues in physical education, meaning how will you teach certain skills regarding activities or a sport, the methods, in other words. One can use the, firstly, organizational instruction method, or secondly, the informational instruction method, where the teacher will tell or then inform the learners what they are going to be doing. That's the informational instruction method. The teacher needs to motivate the learners about what they are going to do using the informational or the inform method. And it involves 4 guidelines, namely 1 idea at a time. The teacher teaches the children one particular skill added time, for example, how to catch a ball successfully. Instructions for this should be short so that the learners will know the instructions because they are short and clear. And they will therefore be interested and focused. The next guideline is to use a reminder word or phrase. The children would then be able to remember an instruction by only hearing one word. For example, if the teacher says hands when teaching them how to catch a ball, children will remember what to do with their hands, as discussed by the teacher beforehand. Children can help the teacher to determine a good reminder word. The third one is based on observation. This guideline involves a teacher who will observe the children closely to see what works for them. And the last guideline is demonstration, meaning the teacher rather shows or demonstrates the activity than to just talking about it. These are the 4 guidelines for informational instruction. Make sure to understand, but also to know them. Unit 3. When being a physical education teacher and also a coach, it will be expected from you to know certain gymnastic techniques like cartwheels and headstands and handstands. Very important is that a coach should know 100% what a certain technique entails. Otherwise, learners can be injured during the execution. You should know the correct technique on how cartwheels should be executed, as described in 3.3. Let's see about cartwheels. Firstly, work in pairs. Secondly, decide if you will move the right or left foot. Thirdly, swing the legs sideways into a handstand. Fourth, with legs straddled. Fifth, use a good speed. Sixth, to push off from the hands. And 7, the correct downward swing of the legs. 8, elbows must be locked throughout. And 9, shoulders stretch. 10 would be, and the position of the body should form a complete stretch. And 11, but tension must be maintained. 12, always perform in a straight line. You will notice that I numbered the steps. This will help you to break up the steps and ease the learning process of how to teach children cartwheels. Now do the same with headstands and handstands as described in 3.4, and you should know them. Remember that you should know the whole action, not only part of it. There are 5 topics of importance in Unit 4. In 4.1, it is discussed why sport builds character. Sport plays a very important role in building physical endurance. It allows athletes to develop in goal setting in order to achieve their goals. Moral habits like not taking or giving bribes are reinforced. Also concentration, confidence, control and commitment are developed when partaking in sport. Make sure to know what moral habits specifically are about. The second paragraph to study is 4.2. Typical warming up exercises for primary athletes are described in 4.2. Why are warming up exercises important? To allow the heart to gradually increase the rate at which it is pumping blood to the rest of the body. So study this paragraph well. The correct starting technique of a race is very important. See 4.3 for this. I'm going to explain on your marks. The athlete stands upright with the toe of the front foot just before the starting line. The back foot should be at about the heel of the right foot, arms hanging loosely to the side. Also study the set and go commands. The best will be to picture these 3 actions. You can even draw them or execute them yourselves to help you remember the correct starting technique and know them well. In 4.19, good sportsmanship behavior is described. Make sure to study this in detail. Bad sportsmanship will be just the opposite of good sportsmanship. The last topic to know in Unit 4 can be found in 4.21. It does happen that a school principal can expect from the PE teacher to plan, organize, and help with the execution of a school athletics or sports event. Can you think about important issues to organize in order to make it a successful event? Let's start from the beginning. You need the athletes' names and ages in order to divide them in their appropriate groups and also items you're going to present. You need helpers like the starter, catchers at the end of the race, the recorder of the winners, etc. There should be an announcer, clean toilet facilities, food and cool drinks. Parents should be informed exactly when and where the event will take place. So you need to determine the venue, the starting time, all with the consent of the principal. I'm sure you will realize that there are many aspects to give attention to. Therefore, study 4.21 to know all these aspects well. You can also study LA, that's Learning Activity 6, at the end of Unit 4 in this regard. In Unit 5, it is about sports skills and rules. Remember that I mentioned early in the presentation that a PE teacher should know how certain techniques are executed by heart and 100%. Otherwise, learners can hurt themselves and will not be able to achieve their best in that sport code. In 5.2, it is set out precisely how a cricket ball should be caught. The catcher should stand with their feet shoulder width apart. Lean the torso or then the body slightly forward. You should be in a slightly hunched over position, leaning slightly forward with the upper body. The feet firmly planted, arms hanging loosely in front of the body. Keep arms slightly cupped. As the ball comes nearer, bring the hands together but still cupped. Then cup them around the ball. Try to picture this in your mind or execute this action yourself. It might make it easier to understand and remember. Study to know this technique. The same goes for the rules of cricket as discussed in 5.3. Picture a cricket game in your head, or you can even watch a game on TV to acquaint yourself with the rules. Study 5.3 to know these rules well. Also for when it will be required from you to coach the game of cricket to the learners at your school. You should also know the rules of rugby as set out in 5.7 and the rules of netball as discussed in 5.8 and know them well. Safety on the playground is of utmost importance and it is the responsibility of the teacher on duty. Can you think how you will make sure your learners are safe and always taken care of? Rules for a start are very important. You should set up some rules, but also the learner should understand and know these rules. Proper supervision at all times is very important. Never leave them in the hands of learners, not even older learners. Water should always be available for learners to hydrate themselves regularly. You should also know which learners have health problems like asthma, and also how they should be treated if necessary. In fact, there are many other measures regarding the safety of the learners, so study 5.11 well. But unfortunately, accidents can and do happen on the playground. Accidents and how to handle them are described in 5.12 in detail. Study to know these first aid procedures. Unit 6 is about games for pairs like chess and tennis, games for large groups like rugby and soccer, games for small groups like the numbers game and body parts. How can these facts be asked? You should be able to identify the games and also give examples of each kind of game. For example, to identify, I can ask, soccer is a game for which group? And then your answers should be large groups. Or you should be able to name them. The question can be, name a game for small groups. And then you must be able to say number game. So study 6.1, 6.2 and 6.3 in this regard. When presenting a PE class, traditional games can be presented for learners to identify themselves with their own culture and for other cultures in your class to gain knowledge about their peers. I'm only to give attention to one game, namely bottle tops, as described in 6.6. Each of these games has a traditional name too. For example, bottle tops is called itu or kwe. When studying this game, make sure to know exactly how it is played. It is of no use if you only know part of the game. I would suggest you play the game yourself, then it will be much easier to describe it. So study this as described in 6.6. 6.9 is the last paragraph of importance in this unit, where maintaining order during a PE class is discussed. A PE class takes place in a less structured environment. Discipline, however, should still be maintained. How? Make sure to have classroom rules. Make sure to have protocols around them going to the bathroom. Use positive discipline strategies, etc. Study 6.9 extensively in order to know these strategies well. So let us look at the important content of Unit 7 then. There are certain elements of rhythm that you must teach learners so that they can move effectively according to a certain rhythm you play to them. They must understand the underlying beat, the rhythmic pattern, the tempo, that's the speed of the music, the accent, the emphasis given to any one beat, and the intensity, how loud or how soft the music is played. You should be able to name and also discuss these elements as set out in 7.3. Dancing can be of much value to the learners because it enhances the following skills. It enhances flexibility, strength, endurance, balance, which is also influenced by stability. You must also be able to discuss the value of dancing with style. So read and study 7.5 in this regard. Noise, being too loud, can pose serious threats to learners. How? It can interfere with speech and language development. It can impair or strain hearing and also learning. It can result in permanent hearing loss. It can even disturb the cardiovascular system of a child, and it can disturb their sleep. These facts are set out in 7.6. The last unit, 8, should be studied under the following paragraphs. 8.1, which discusses the topic of how a teacher can motivate learners how to accept their physical appearance. That's very important. In 8.2, the different systems in the body are set out and discussed. The skeletal or muscular system, the circulatory system, lymphatic and respiratory system, the digestive and excretory systems, the nervous systems, reproductive system, and the endocrine system. You have to know all these systems and all the facts that are discussed in 8.2. There are certain consequences when being unhealthy and unfit. It increases the chance of illnesses such as heart disease, strokes, etc. It can cause being overweight and causes nutrient deficiencies in the body. Being unhealthy and unfit can also be the cause of increased and unprocessed stress, because regular exercise releases chemicals that help with stress release. Study 8.4 for these facts. What nutrients does a body need to be healthy and well balanced? Carbohydrates for stimulating the immune system, proteins to build and prepare the body, fats to protect our vital organs like the heart and liver, vitamins, it utilizes or uses energy that it gets from, for example, proteins, fiber for a healthy digestive system, water to stay hydrated. So it is clear that our bodies need all these nutrients. And 8.8 discusses these facts about a balanced diet. You should be able to name the different nutrients, but also what each nutrient is important for, to have a good and well-balanced body, meaning the job of each nutrient. Also discussed in 8.8 is the importance of a balanced diet. It provides the body with all the different nutrients needed for the daily life. You will not run the risk of being overweight or develop diseases like diabetes. Gout is also associated with an unbalanced diet, so to eat a balanced diet will exclude this illness. A balanced diet prevents infections of the body. It improves mental or mind ability. There are many benefits when eating a balanced diet, so study therefore this paragraph well. Now, this concludes my discussion regarding the most important facts in your study guide, as mentioned previously. Make it your priority to study right throughout the year. And in conclusion to the presentation, I would like to mention a few important facts regarding the coming exams. Please take note of them. Please note that you only need to study from your study guide. And before you study the actual content, you first need to acquaint yourself with the learning outcomes of each unit. After you've studied this, you will know what the unit is all about. Thereafter, you must look at the learning activities which follow the learning outcomes. It will be wise to do all these activities to the best of your ability before looking at the answers at the end of each unit. And after you've completed them, you can go back to the answers at the end of the unit and measure your knowledge against the complete answers. In this way, you will get to know the content and also will know how questions can be asked in the exams. The study guide contains adequate information, so it's not necessary to study from any other source. And remember to also study your assignment for the exams. Remember that when answering a question, facts from different parts of the study guide can be applicable. It's not necessarily limited to one part of the guide. And it's important to note, although Physical education may seem as a non-exam subject for learners and a period where learners are encouraged to explore in a less formal environment. You as teacher should exactly know how to keep them busy and how and why certain activities should be presented. Therefore, the teacher should know certain facts about the subject PHE, as well as the correct procedures regarding the presentation of PE. And it is therefore of utmost importance that you as student teacher should know facts. I stress this because some students are of the opinion that this subject does not need to be studied for, and then they do poorly in the exams. Take time to know your study guide in order to present adequate facts in the exams. Lastly, please note that short answer questions will be asked, and the following kinds can be asked. To fill in words. For example, what is used during relay races? And the correct answer to be filled in is then baton. Or definitions of certain terminology, for example, of strength, the ability of the body to exert a maximum force against a force external to the body. Another type of short question can be where two columns are given, A and B. In column A, certain facts are given. For example, exercise beneficial for a short-put athlete, or speed, or chocolates and sweets. And in column B, the possible answers are given. Not a healthy option to eat. Lunges, the ability to move from one place to another in the shortest time possible. So you have to connect the correct answers. What would you say would be the answers? In this case, it would be 1B, 2C, 3A. Note that you will only fill in the correct letters. Do not write out the words. Please feel free to contact me regarding any uncertainties and questions you have about your subject. Good luck with the exams. You will be rewarded for hard work and dedication.